Hi everybody, welcome to Crashland. My name is Llyr. I'm the developer of this game. So this is a VR game for Oculus Quest. You play as an intergalactic gladiator that's going to be kind of crash landing on this planet over and over again in order to reach enlightenment. So the way we're going to actually go on this pilgrimage and reach enlightenment is to basically pick a fight with the local inhabitants. There are 24 missions in the game, each of which introduces new aliens, new weapons, new environments. So we're going to concentrate in this video on mission number 3, which is called Worm Food. This mission is 7 minutes in length, which might seem short, but actually that's a long time to be in active combat against these things. We're going to start with one weapon mode, which is going to be precision fire for our pistol. As the mission progresses, new weapons will drop, so we'll get plasma grenades, burst fire, and finally chopper. Each mission has this kind of rhythm in terms of how weapons are dropping. There's 7 contacts in this mission, so we've got insectoids, ticks, shock slugs, hoppers, gonads, crusted longlegs, and hellworms. All very friendly, we'll meet them in a second. Now before we crash land, we need to pick our perks. So if I move over to the perks panel, we'll see there are 30 perks to pick from by the end of the game. We're currently level 12, which gives us access to 3 perks at any one time. I've picked Executioner, which will give us some boost based on killing things using our kind of more powerful weapon. We have Turret, which basically allows us to get some help from a turret once per mission. And we have Puncher, and this one basically allows us to punch things very hard. We'll play around with these perks when we're planetside. Okay, so we're ready to go. We've got our perks, we've picked our mission, so let's crash land. Okay, so as you can see, we've crash landed on the planet. This is mission number 3, so it's in a kind of a desert, rocky kind of environment. Every mission's different. You'll be in the forest, in the snow, in the mountains, in the swamp. The atmosphere will also change. In this mission, visibility will reduce as we go through. In my right hand, we have the ever-dependent smart pistol. This is an infinite firing gun. It's currently set to precision fire, which means it's a very accurate firing mode. Doesn't do too much damage, but it's still relatively useful in the early game especially. Now, as we play the game, we will unlock other firing modes for this pistol. They will drop from the sky. In my left hand, we have the boomstick. Now, this is basically your high power weapon on a cooldown. No firing modes yet, we will unlock some in a second. The boomstick also has a built-in motion scanner, and this is an incredibly important part of Crashland's gameplay mechanics. So this allows us to know where stuff is and where stuff is likely to be. So obviously that means items. At the moment you can see it's picking up what are known as boost balls. You can see one over there. We'll pick them up in a second. Obviously this also picks up aliens, and the main reason you'd use the motion scanner is to know where the aliens are. Aliens come from underground. Some of them are very fast, some of them travel in packs. So it's a very useful tool for figuring out where stuff is in order to be repositioning, or even to move towards something if you want to kind of replenish your resources. Now, the way we move in Crashland is through, well, analog stick movement to start with. There are perks you can get that will speed this up as well. But the main way we actually get some distance is through teleportation. You'll see as I teleport, the number of teleporters on the back of the pistol will drop. When that reaches 0, we're in big trouble. We're a sitting duck, and pretty much everything in Crashland is bigger and faster than us. So the only way we have an advantage is by moving around and repositioning, and obviously the scanner helps with that too. Now the only way to get more teleports, apart from that first one, is to kill something. So it doesn't matter how big or small, you kill something and you will get a teleport point back. There are other perks that allow you to pick up teleport points, for example by blowing up these boom plants, but generally speaking the best way of doing it, the most reliable way, is to kill something. So that's obviously another very key mechanic and how the game kind of ebbs and flows between you being the hunter and the hunted. Okay, so let's pick up a boost ball. This charges up this pistol, so now the pistol becomes a very powerful weapon. You'll see if I squeeze the grip and fire, it fires a boosted shot. With the precision fire, this basically is just double damage, so it allows us to do a good amount of damage to something. Again, very, very useful tool. And as we charge up, we can unlock different abilities with perks and stuff as well. Different firing modes will have different alternate fires, which will be sometimes very kind of very different from each other. So boost fire might fire kind of projectiles versus a hit scan kind of weapon for the primary fire. Okay, so those are the main mechanics, and obviously they interact with one another. The perks and the aliens and everything else interacts together as well. So there's a lot of emergent stuff that goes on. But let's now bring in some friends and see how we go. Okay, so the first alien that's coming in is the tick. The tick, as you'll notice, is sucking the blood out of me at the moment. Luckily enough, they've evolved the glowing weak points underneath, so you can quickly deal with them. This is an insectoid. This is pretty much just cannon fodder in the early game. Not that big a deal. You'll notice it dropped a boost ball there, so every creature you kill has a chance of dropping boost balls like that. Alright, so we have a new weapon. We've got the plasma grenade. So the plasma grenade just allows us to do explosive damage to something. So in this early game, there's not that much to trouble us, really. So insectoids on their own are not particularly dangerous things. They're dangerous in combination with other things, basically. So for example, if you're low on teleporters, they can be dangerous. If something has damaged your teleporter, or has drained it, or is jamming it, that might cause a problem as well. Generally speaking, if you're keeping an eye on where things are, it's not that big of a deal. Hello. Yeah, so these things, they trap me from moving with the analog stick, but I'm still free to move with the teleporter. So again, they're not that big of a deal, although they do sometimes distract you while something else is attacking. Ticks later on come in packs, for example. They can be dangerous then because they can drain you quite quickly. They can also just kind of throw a spanner into the works and cause problems in that way as well, just by distracting you or just by panicking someone. But generally speaking, they're relatively, both these creatures are relatively easy things to deal with as long as you're concentrating. So we've got another firing mode. This is the burst fire. Burst fire is one of my favourite early game weapons because it absolutely shreds things. You'll notice I switched over to burst fires and then back to precision fire. That's because, you know, shooting those little glowing weak points underneath the ticks can be quite difficult with burst fire. Okay, hello. So we've got a hellworm. So the hellworm, when it's far away, will spit rocks at you like this one's doing. When it's close, it will bite you, and basically you're not going to last long. What you might notice about these creatures as well is they're animated using what is known as procedural animation. So every time you kill something, they will behave differently. Excellent neck hole graphics there for you. Okay, so this is basically just going to descend into basically gladiatorial battle against these things. Things spawn in during the course of the mission. As we get further into the mission, different aliens will start dropping. So you'll notice that creature dropped a golden boost ball. That's basically a super boost. It just fully charges up the pistol. Okay, we've got the chopper now, and the chopper's again one of my favorite weapons for the early game. It basically fires like a rotor blade that just absolutely dominates most creatures in the early game. It can even be useful in the late game as well, especially as a high power weapon for kind of either knocking a single enemy out or doing damage to lots of creatures. Okay, so I'm going to be editing a few of these together, so I apologise if there's any continuity errors. So we're soon going to be seeing some new aliens. There you go. So this is a gonad. Gonads kind of drop these mines. You'll see them kind of spit out a mine. These mines will affect both other aliens and us. So if we get anywhere near it, it will hop into the air, explode, and do some damage. Now, with the gonads, basically, you don't want them to be... You don't want them to be dropping these mines all the time, because if you look at the scanner, it's showing up exactly the same as a boost ball would. So there's a boost ball over here somewhere. There. Need some more teleports. So that's a real boost ball, but the ones over there are not real. And obviously you can, in the heat of the moment, you can be distracted by them. Okay, so there's obviously a spider here. So spiders basically can trap you in these webs. Very dangerous things because they basically just immobilize you. So the teleporter doesn't work, you can't move, and obviously every other creature in the game will take advantage of that. If I get anywhere near this spider, it will actually also come for me. So it'll just kind of climb onto you and try to eat you. Very, very dangerous things. Even just hearing them on the battlefield is just a very scary thing, especially when it's dark. Okay, so let's deal with this gonad. So when the gonads die, they turn inside out, basically. You're going to be careful not to be distracted by that. You kind of wait for it to happen, and then sometimes you get blindsided. Okay, here's another one. So we can basically, we want to be kind of cleaning up after the gonads, really. Otherwise, you know, we're going to get confused with the teleport, where the actual, where the mines are, where the boost balls are. Sometimes the chopper can be useful to kind of, you know, to cut a few of them. You can get them in a straight line. Okay, so you might have noticed that I teleport punched earlier. I was too distracted to tell you about it. So basically, you can see I've got 2 charges now. I need 3 to perform a teleport punch. You'll notice when I killed that insectoid, now we've got 3, and our laser pointer has turned green, which means we can actually just teleport punch things, and you can kill most small to medium-sized things with these teleport punch like that. Obviously, it's not going to work against something like a hellworm. One of the problems with using teleport punch, of course, is if you use 3 and you only get 1 back, of course, by killing something, you can quickly run out of teleporters. So I've actually got into a situation here where I'm very low on teleporters and there's something much bigger than me almost at me. So that can be, it's very much a risk-reward strategy to mess around with teleport punch. But if there's lots of small creatures, it can definitely be a very cool thing to use. And in the later game, it can even function with some perks as a very kind of cool central perk to use as part of a loadout. Okay, so you'll notice the atmosphere starting to change now. We're starting to kind of get into the second half of the mission. I've introduced some new aliens as well. We've got hoppers here and we've got a shock slug over there. So the hoppers are just small hopping beetles, basically. You can even deal with them with one go using the chopper. Now these shock slugs, basically, if they shock you, they destroy the teleporter. They just drain it. So it's very important to deal with these things because they can put you in a lot of trouble. Now, obviously, on the other hand, these hopping beetles allow you to quickly recharge the teleporter because, of course, 1 teleport is 1 kill. So you can actually kind of stun lock these by resetting. Every time we shoot a eye, it will reset. Which is obviously a tactic you can use to deal with them bit by bit whilst also dealing with other threats. You can actually use the chopper to pop all 3 eyes at once, which is very satisfying. Oh, this one's getting too close. Luckily we had enough to do a teleport punch so we could deal with it. So oftentimes there's a lot of ebb and flow in combat between picking up a lot of teleports, performing a teleport punch, and you'll see we're still doing pretty well. So if you know what's on the battlefield, the scanner will help with that. You can kind of predict your next move. There's even builds you can have where it's all about basically killing small things, performing teleport punches, killing more things, and so on. So you can use teleport punch as a viable late game strategy or even higher difficulty strategy as well. If I hop to the edge of the map, let me just deal with this. If I hop to the edge, you'll notice there is a big kind of barrier, which is obviously commonly seen in Battle Royale games. It's not a good idea to step on the other side of that barrier, you'll burn up very quickly. In higher difficulties, that barrier will shrink, basically, so it's going to squeeze us all into a smaller and smaller arena until we're right where we started at the crashed ship. Okay, so let's check out some other perks. So if you remember, we had 2 perks. We had Turret and Executioner on top of Puncher. So turret, if we shoot into the air, that's going to call down a turret to help us. You get one of these permissions, so you need to know when to use them. They're very useful basically for just wiping the board. Whatever's around will generally not last long when we've got one of these. So we'll make short work of that hellworm, for example. So usually you use the turret when you're in a panic, basically. When things are spiraling out of control and you just need some breathing room. Or it could be just the last few minutes of a mission where you just want that extra little bit of help. It doesn't last long, and we feel twice as lonely when it's gone. So the way the executioner perk works is anything you kill with a boomstick generates boost. So you'll notice on my pistol here, as I'm shooting things with the chopper, every kill generates a bit of boost. This can be useful, especially when you've got groups of creatures, because you can, just like with the teleporter, generate quite a lot of boost very quickly. There's other perks for the gun as well, like capacity, which doubles the amount you can store, and that allows you basically to double the effectiveness of the executioner perk at the same time. Okay, so we're approaching the end of the mission now. You can see the atmosphere started to come, the dust has started to come in. This is the point where there's going to be a lot nastier things coming towards us, and more aliens as well. So this is, I guess, closer to what Crashland feels like to play in terms of the amount of decisions I have to be making here, the amount of kind of aliens that are coming my way, the speed by which they're attacking, the variety. It's generally closer to what it feels like. Okay, so this is called a crusted longleg. You won't see them till later on in the game for real. Basically, they're like the big brother of the ticks. So you can see they're crusted. They've got a kind of a crust over them, which means I can't actually get at the weak point until I pop that crust. Let's see if we can take advantage of this boom plant here to get rid of that crust. It's usually a good way of dealing with them, at least if you have these. Okay, so that I actually just killed it and popped the crust there, but the idea is you can use explosives to crack the crust and then you get to the weak point afterwards. So let's see if we can deal with this one. They absolutely hate explosives, so as long as you kind of shoot an explosive at them, they will. They'll back off, at least for a little while. I think something. I think it might have been blown up by a gonad mine there. So they hate explosives for a good reason, because that's where you get at that shell of theirs. But obviously, if you're fighting two of them, or there's spiders as we saw a minute ago, it can very quickly go really bad. But generally speaking, as long as you've got some kind of explosive, you can keep them at bay just enough time to get that kind of gooey bit and then pop them. Very deep trouble, dead. So I guess what happened there at the end is the spider got me, and then even the tiniest little hopper managed to kill me. So we didn't get to the end of the mission. If we had, we would have been beamed up in a nice kind of celebratory way by like this big ship that comes into the sky. But obviously, it didn't happen that way. The screen just went black, and life is like that sometimes. We're back in outer space, and obviously we could then pick to drop down onto the planet again, move to a different mission, switch out your perks. For example, we could switch to the bully perk, which gives us 25% extra damage to boosted shots, or Reaper, that allows us to use the boom plants as a strategic resource, so it kind of instantly cools down the boomstick and gives us an extra teleport that can be really useful to get out of sticky situations. Focus, which allows us to basically slow down time using boost. You can use that to line up the perfect shot, or skewer a terror bird like in this situation, or explode a boom plant just as something's crawling over the top of it, like the crusted longlegs we just seen. Anyway, so there's lots of choice, lots of combinations that I haven't even tried, and by the end of the game you'll have 5 perks to pick from, lots of combinations there, and obviously across the difficulty mode, so into hard and nightmare mode, you're going to have to switch up the perks you use, balancing survivability versus perhaps scoring points and stuff. There is a high score table, for each mission. So there's that game as well, and some of the perks, for example, Overkill gives you extra points by killing stuff with boost. There's another one here called Skeet that allows you basically to, if you shoot a corpse while it's in the air, you get extra points. So I'm sure, combining all of this stuff together, there's lots of opportunity to mess with the leaderboards as well. So I hope you enjoyed that preview of Crashland. Check it out for Oculus Quest. For the time being, thanks for listening. Cheers.
Plasma grenade. Burst fire. Rapid fire.